I mean, coming in, I had no expectations of making money. And I think that's also like why a lot of people are brought in the wrong way. They're coming in with the expectations of be your own boss, work whenever you want. Within a few years, you're going to be a millionaire and you're going to retire by 28. You're going to retire by 25. So, come in, make all this money, work whenever you want, and you're going to be rich. How's it going, everyone? So in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the time we were in World Financial Group, which is also kind of known as a MLM. And, a lot of people also have a misconception of it being a pyramid scheme. Just to introduce myself, my name is Alexis.
And then my name is Juan.
And yeah, like I mentioned, we're going to just talk about our story. I know, Juan, you were the first one who, you could say, got into it.
Yeah.
So could you just kind of share your story, your experience, how you got into it?
Yeah, so pretty much we both were in World Financial Group. I know it's a different business model.
It is.
Than, for example, quote unquote a regular business or a business where you have the owners and then they employ people and you have people working under you. Multi-level marketing is a different business model. It's not either good or bad. I think it's just the way that how people run it. Because the idea of having to help people, like if you help people make money, you make money. That's a good one. I think that's a good business model. But I guess it depends how you actually run it. But yeah, I know we both were in it, but I know I started it because one of my friends had started it before. It was right after high school. I was working at the Home Depot, and so I saw my friends. One of my friends, he's the one that started it. He, at the very beginning, he pretty much told me about pretty much where he started working at.
Right. And
so I remember he took me to his office. It was in West LA. He took me in for pretty much just an interview in a sense. And I'm like, I'm down. Like I'll go see what it is. And then pretty much, they did the presentation and all that. And in general, I tend to be very skeptical. I tend to be like, question everything. And so
right.
Once they were, pretty much once we were there, the presentation ended, I was asking a lot of questions. I don't remember the specific questions, but I was asking, kind of what's the turnover. And I think even before that, I had researched what is World Financial Group. And I think searching it and seeing what's online, you already get an automatic idea as to what it is. I was thinking it's a scam. It's kind of like, people don't make money. And so going in there, I was kind of going in almost combative, as in like, this is not, this is bad. And so yeah, I asked a lot of questions. The turnover, that's one of the things that later on I did find out that I was saying, kind of what's the turnover here? And they said like pretty much only like 1 out of 10 people like leave. And that is not the case.
Right.
It's more like 9 out of 10 people leave. And so it's the people that run it that make it look bad. Because if they were just straight up, I think people would have a better perception of it. But yeah, and so I didn't start, but so then that was that. But then my friends, like when we used to play soccer, I think you were there.
Yep.
They used to get ready, they used to dress up, yep. And then they used to go to work. And so I'm like, okay, like, and they used to do that quite often. Like they were talking a lot about like work in a sense. And so I'm like, interesting. And then one of the times my friend invited me to one. They had like a team meeting, and it was in Burbank, and so we went to their house. And then I remember the marketing director, which he's a cool guy. From at least to me, he was very cool. Yeah, and so that was the meeting, and then the main guy was there. And I remember this too, because pretty much everyone that was there, he would shook their hands, and then he didn't shake my hands. Granted, at that age, I was like 18, 19 years old, so right. I probably looked super young. I wasn't in the team, so it's like I get it, but it's kind of an asshole thing to do, in my opinion. But yeah, and so I remember that even to this day. Yeah, he was young too, I remember. But I digress. But I know right before that or right after that, they were gonna go to Las Vegas. And so I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just go?
Right.
It wasn't for the meeting, but it's like Vegas. I've never gone there, so yeah. So we went. We stayed in we tried to stay in a Excalibur, like in a good hotel. But I remember someone had to be 21 years at least to rent it out. No one was, so we just had to stay in like this like travel lodge, a small motel. But yeah, and so then, just the constant of them dressing up nicely, going to the meeting, being excited. I kind of am like, you know what? I don't think this is like something that I see like a huge future in, but let me go check it out. Like, I at least want to be part of it, at least to hang out with my friends. I just, started, pretty much told them, like, hey, I want to start, paid the $100 fee. Which it really doesn't go to like anyone or the recruiter. It actually goes to the administrative fees, at least in World Financial Group. And then to get you set up, paid it, and then just started going there. And then I didn't go in there with much expectation of nothing. But going to the first few meetings, it was like it kind of expanded my mindset or my vision in a sense as to like, that the 9 to 5 is not necessarily always, not that it was bad, but business in a sense. They were talking a lot about business and finance, insurance, investments. And so that's something that I really liked, at least that aspect of it. And then the meetings just expanded my vision. And so a few days in, I was like, you know what? Let me actually try and see how it goes. And I remember within the first, I think it was 2 weeks, I got licensed. And that's pretty much how I started.
And I know after that, you kind of like invited me, or you told me, hey, like, dude, I think you need to come to like a meeting. You like, there's all these people making all this amount of money.
I don't remember how I actually like invited you, but it's interesting that I used that.
Well, that's what I perceive. I could be remembering wrong, but it was kind of like, hey, come on, like all these people, like it's a good thing. Just come check it out. And I remember it was a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I ended up going. That at the time I was still in high school. I was 17. It was around 2013. And then the day I went, I remember watching all these people making X amount of money. They were making hundreds of thousands a year. They were making millions a year. And I thought to myself, just listening to all their stories, how they started. Because if you look at a lot of people that are successful in World Financial Group, they kind of, looking at them speak, looking at the way they act, they're good. But then you kind of think to yourself, like if this guy did it, like if, barely speaking English, good English, stutters a lot, coming from a different country, if these guys could do it, then, I could do it too. So it's kind of looking at all that, looking the way they grew up, looking the way, some of them came to the U.S. Now they're making all this money. They're helping all these people. It kind of like, if these guys could do it, I could do it. So it kind of made me decide to start. But I know because I was 17 at the time, I couldn't start because you had to be 18 to, to work at World Financial Group and then also get licensed. You had to be 18. So I would just go to the meetings. But yeah, that's how I got started. I got brought in via Juan. I know you mentioned you got licensed. So when you get licensed, I'm assuming you're able to make money now, right?
Yeah.
So like, when was the first time you actually started making money after you got licensed?
So,
was it right away or?
After I got licensed, I started losing money because now we had to pay insurance, like errors and omissions and contribute to the agency, or pretty much just pay like in a sense, like rent to actually be able to produce from that office. And so actually I was losing money, but I think a few weeks to months in, I think I was able to get like a few clients. And yeah, it was like, several $100s every insurance policy. Granted, like the more they pay towards the insurance policy, the more commission you get. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, but overall, like since working there at World Financial Group, I think I made no more than $2,000. No more than $2,000.
And that's profit. That's after you paying monthly.
No, that's pretty much what I got in commissions.
So would you say you lost money overall, or you made more money than you?
No.
Because I know, like, you said you had to pay for your license, like errors and omissions in case you mess up. Kind of like insurance.
Yeah, that was like $30-$40 a month.
Right. And I'm pretty sure there were other expenses, kind of like,
the gas.
gas.
Pretty much like, yeah, so the gas, the having to go to the meetings, maybe going on trips.
On trips. And then I know once you get licensed, you had, like, the office you're working from, you had to pay a monthly rent. Kind of like to be able to work from that office,
yeah,
right?
It was like around $40.
$40, right? So adding all that up and, like after your sales... And I know you worked there for like a year and something, like a year. Was it a year?
Like a year and a half.
A year and a half. So you made $2,000. You had all those expenses. So would you say you made money or you lost money?
No, I would say I lost money. In terms of like financial, I lost money.
Okay.
But I think more than that, I gained a lot of like knowledge, like a mind shift. And I don't know how to say it, but kind of like it changed my mind on a lot of things. And then I also looked at insurance as almost a necessity.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I got from there is like insurance. Like we both have insurance. And that's something that if anyone's watching, if anyone has kids, parents, someone that, they care for, it's almost a necessity.
Life insurance.
Life insurance. You have to get it. Like, and so I'm saying this from a place that, I don't benefit from you getting it, but you definitely should get it. I believe everyone should have it. But yeah, so definitely, more than the financial loss, I gained more in the knowledge and the mindset change.
Yeah.
Because now I had a experienced or at least seen what was possible. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then like, but you know, that was kind of like my experience. And then another thing that I did gain was learning how to talk to people.
Right.
Because I definitely got out of my comfort zone. I had to talk to people, you know, not random people, but sometimes people walking by, you know, or not even walking by, but like in the mall or wherever it was. You know, it's kind of like seeing, like looking at them, and then kind of also like there was also a lot of like people skills that I gained.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I got better at talking to people. And so that's one thing that I definitely also gained a lot. Yeah, and so if I were to put like my whole experience, it was a net positive, even though I lost money, because I gained so much knowledge and I would say people skills.
Okay.
And also financial like literacy, that it was definitely like, if I were to go back, I would do it again. Even though I lost money, because I learned so much. And that's just World Financial Group. I don't know the other businesses, like I don't know, like if Primerica works the same, or like Avon.
And also that's just that individual office.
Yeah,
I know like a lot of people from World Financial Group who have offices, they're brokers.
Yeah.
So meaning they're kind of like its own, you could say, they're kind of licensing WFG, you know, like they're operating with the WFG within the WFG umbrella, but they're brokers. So meaning, you know, like they have their agents, you know, they have their organization, but they still go through World Financial Group. And I know every person also runs it different.
Yeah.
So, you know, like some people could run it really good to the books, but then other people, you know, not so much.
Yeah, because there's some offices or that pretty much they look at Indeed people or resumes, Craigslist, and they call them up saying, you know, they bring like it's not the most ethical way that they run their business. It's pretty much you're your own business owner.
Yeah.
You start there, you know, you get paid 1099, but then pretty much it's up to you. You could decide whether I just want to be a producer. I just want to sell life insurance. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of money from there. So you don't have to recruit.
Yep.
Because remember when we used to go to the meetings or to the conventions?
Yep.
Remember him?
I remember.
He used to make, I think, just on commissions alone, like on his, without his team, like over $1 million a year.
Yep.
Just on his own production.
Yeah. Which is just selling.
Yeah, and then there's on the vice versa. Like, I think that's why it's structured that way, because you're incentivized to recruit, not because you make money off of the people coming in, because of if you help them make money, then you make money.
Yep.
And at the same time, you know, you help insure other people. So I think it's a good business model. It's just the way that it's ran, and so, you know, that's why you're incentivized to make to recruit, in a sense, if you want to build a business.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then yeah, so that was my experience. How was your experience? Because I know you were, well, I mean, we're only 2 years different, but you were brought in there younger. Like, kind of like, what was your experience overall there?
I mean, coming in, I had no expectations of making money. And I think that's also like why a lot of people are brought in the wrong way. It's, you know, they're coming in with the expectations of be your own boss, work whenever you want. You know, within a few years, you're going to be a millionaire, and you're going to retire by 28. You're going to retire by 25. So, you know, come in, make all this money, work whenever you want, and you're going to be rich, in a sense. So I know a lot of people are brought in the wrong way, but I was brought, like, the way I was brought in, it was through you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like, there was a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I brought in, I had no expectations of making money. I was still in high school. I was still 17. I was still going to, you know, to school. I would just go to the meetings because, like, same thing as you. I wanted to, you know, someday make something for myself. I wanted to be successful. And so I would just go to the meetings. I would just listen to all these people. I would absorb the information. And little by little, my mind started changing, like my mindset. It started, you know, becoming more of maybe college isn't the only option. Anything is possible. Like, these people, they weren't going to college, but they were making all this money. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe college isn't the only way. And, you know, that kind of made me decide then and there. I was a senior in high school. That made me decide that I didn't want to go to college. I remember my advisors, they were telling me, you know, apply to these colleges. You get 5 free applications. And they would consistently tell me, like, you know, kind of like insist me. And they're like, oh, what do you want to do with your life then? And, you know, I would always tell them, I want to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time this teacher is all like, well, do you even know how to spell entrepreneur?
Damn.
Oh, you know him.
Huh?
You know him.
Who?
I think it was.
Damn. Okay.
But yeah, so he said that. And I remember it's kind of a cliche what they say, but, you know, like some people over there that make all this money is like, you know, barely speaking English. Is you kind of don't need to know how to spell to make money. So it's kind of like anything is possible. It's just you just need the right mentality, the right work ethic, the right discipline, and the right opportunity, and you can make it in life. College isn't the only way. Yeah, so I did that for like 7-8 months until eventually I turned 18 years old. But I remember at the time, because we didn't have much money, I wasn't working. I know you were still struggling,
Yeah.
with, you still had the job, or either that or you went full time. I forgot.
I think at some point I did go full time.
So we really didn't have much money. I know my parents didn't really have much money either to spare, and I didn't want to ask them because I know they had their own expenses. So when you start with World Financial Group, like you mentioned, you had to pay that $100. I didn't even have that $100. I remember I was asking people like, hey, like, could I borrow $100? So it's kind of like everyone like at the office knew I was turning 18, so they were expecting me to, come in, already be a part of World Financial Group. But I think it took me like 2 days to join officially World Financial Group because we were broke. And yeah, the next step was getting licensed. But me being me, it took me a lot longer than you. I know it took you 2 weeks. I think it took me like 4 or 5 months, and it took me like 4 or 5 tries to get licensed. And it was because like I went into the mentality of, okay, I'm going to these meetings, so I should know the information. But it's a lot different. Like it's very technical, like the insurance, like what type of policies. Not to get into much too detail, but it's very technical. So it's kind of like it took me 3 or 4 tries, and I remember like on the 3rd try, I was like, fuck, man, like why can't I pass it? Am I fucking dumb? In my head, and like a tear, came out of my a tear came out of my eyes. It's kind of like, yeah. But on the 4th one, it's kind of like I got my shit together. Like, okay, I'm gonna study. Like, I'm gonna take all this time to study, which I should have done from the beginning, because me being me. Anyways, I decided to study, so I passed it. I got licensed, but I never used the license. I never made money. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
Because like I would just go to the meeting. I would like you mentioned, I would go. They call it prospecting.
Yeah.
Which is basically like going from malls to malls or mall stores and everything, talking to people.
Yeah, pretty much just prospecting, like the people that are working, like you see, like whether they're, I mean, granted, at that point you want anyone, but yeah, that's one of the things that that's one of the things that I also see that they didn't emphasize that, even though a lot of people did that, because you wanted to, they had a whole system, but you wanted to touch your warm market, pretty much the people that you knew, friends and family, and it works really well if you actually believe in the business and the product. Yeah. Because if you actually believe in insurance, life insurance, God forbid something, something had happened to you, like someone passed away, and then you had to create a GoFundMe, not the embarrassment, but having to ask people for money, all that. I think like if someone like goes through that, I think they would have a lot higher belief in life insurance, and so it makes sense, why you should believe in what you're doing, and then also why they emphasize your warm market, pretty much family, friends, people that co-workers that maybe have a job, but because I think I had touched most of our warm market, because our market was pretty much the same. I think that's kind of like, in a sense, we were after that we were forced to pretty much like prospect. Yeah, because I know it's a year and like a year and like 8-9 months, a year and 11 months basically. So like you mentioned, you had kind of like touched everyone around us, kind of like already sold to them. And then also I think another reason why I wasn't making money is because I was still working. I was comfortable, getting the paycheck, because it was easy. You just showed up, you clock in, and you make money, as opposed to when you're an independent contractor, because that's what you are working at World Financial Group. You're an independent contractor. So for whatever you do, you get paid. If you don't do anything, then you're not going to get paid. So that's what I was doing. It was kind of like, I was like, yeah, like I'm going for the information, but like it's like I'm already working. So I would be making excuses. And like I mentioned, that's why I think people are brought in the wrong way. They're brought in, you work whenever you want. You're your own boss. If you want to take days off, take days off. And, eventually you're going to be rich. So that's how a lot of people are brought in. And like I said, that I think that's a bad way of being brought in. And I think that's why, when people are brought in that way, a lot of people also say it's a pyramid scheme. It's scam. And that's why you see all those reviews. But yeah, that was my experience with, like starting, and kind of like my overall experience with the World Financial Group. It's kind of like, if you don't put in the work, then, you're not going to get anything out of it. Right. And yeah, and I think that's just with any business. Like, and I think people get that perception of like, you're a business owner, you get to set your own hours, your own schedule. Yeah. I think it's vice versa. Yep. You pretty much have to work, at least in the very beginning, like all the time. Yep. And so you can't miss. In fact, you could miss less in working in your business and working at a job. Like, you actually have to be there. But would you say that, would you do it again? Like, let's say knowing everything now, would you go back again?
I would 100%. Because like I mentioned, when I was 17, it kind of like going there, looking at all these people kind of opened my mind to something else other than, you know, a 9 to 5. Just on that alone, it kind of saved me a lot of time of being indecisive, of maybe going to college, following a certain path, and then, you know, halfway deciding that it's not for me, and then, you know, switching to something else, wasting all this money.
So you failed fast.
Yeah, I failed fast. In a way, I failed fast. I know that. Okay, even though I didn't, you could say, make it in World Financial Group, or, you know, as a salesperson, basically, I know that, you know, business was for me. So 100% I would definitely do it again. And like you mentioned, it's just all that knowledge of basically of working for yourself, building something, building a business. It's possible. So I would 100% do it again.
Yeah, and like I had mentioned before, I would do it again because of the experience, the knowledge that we gained, the financial literacy.
Yeah.
Because if we weren't to, you know, go there, I think we wouldn't have set up Roth IRAs. We wouldn't have had,
no.
Like, and then also on top of that, like some of the friendships that we gained from there.
Yes.
Or at least one of them, like one of our good friends, like, you know, he's not there anymore either, but
both of them, because they're brothers.
Oh yeah, they're brothers, and so like they're not there anymore. But that's a friendship that I think you know, will last a lifetime. But that's something also that we got from there. So the experience, you know, knowing what it is that we wanted to do, which was business.
Yep.
And so yeah, and so with that, like, you know, I think we're maybe making it seem like, you know, it was a good thing. So why was it that we left then? On your end, like, so why did you leave then?
On my end, I think like little by little. Oh, okay. First, I want to preface that, you know, once you're brought in, once you're exposed to that environment, it kind of like you get put blinds in front of your eyes. So it's kind of like, you know, you kind of see them as being the best and they could do nothing wrong. But I know little by little, like the things we were finding out through a mutual friend who was very in good connections with a lot of them. He was kind of like telling us everything they were doing. You know, the way they were bringing in people. Remember one of them, they were bringing in people through, like how you said, Craigslist. He was calling them. Yeah. Kind of like he was posting a job, and then, you know, like basically bringing them in the wrong way, and kind of like wasting their time, wasting their money. That was one of them. I know little by little, the way you could say the bigger people, they were running their organization. It was, you know, morally and maybe ethically, it wasn't the best. And just being exposed to that, it's like, man, come on, like we're supposed to be helping people. But yeah, it's kind of like, you know, you kind of see them like they can do no wrong. You know, like the people that leave, or you could say losers. And that's one thing I don't like about them, is like that organization, or at least in some people in that office, is like if some people do quit, if some people do leave, you automatically see them as losers. You know, like, you know, they're never going to amount to anything. So I hated that. You know, looking back, it's like I hate that. Because like that's not the only option. Like I said, you know, you can start a business. You could even work a regular job, make good money, just, you know, be very skillful in something, and you can make good money. So I never liked that they always said that, you know, you're a loser. You're never going to amount to anything. But it's kind of like being, I don't want to say it's a cult, but it's basically like if you talk, it's kind of like forbidden, the unwritten rule that you can't talk bad about, you know, that organization within that group. But like I mentioned, little by little, you're exposed to like all these things that people are doing behind the scenes, and it's kind of like I think more than anything, morally. Yeah. Morally wrong. Little by little, it's kind of like it started chipping away. Like, maybe I want to do something different. It's not for me. Mm-hmm. I know there's more things going forward, but like I want to know when was the first time that you kind of like were thinking about maybe, you know, leaving?
Well, definitely. I mean, once it wasn't like viable, like the expenses were more than like the income that I was getting, or very little income that I was getting. That was one of them. But then, like how you had mentioned, like I don't think the World Financial Group itself, the business itself, the business model is not the problem. It's the people. Yep. And so like how you mentioned that there was a lot of things going behind the scenes as to like, you know, there was a lot of things. Yeah. Like I think also money was put at the forefront of their office. Yep. Rather than helping the customer get, you know, the right product for themselves, because you make the most commission off of, like, for example, an IUL. But then there's some people that, and that's one of the things, like and that's one of the things that they pushed. IUL 100%. It's the only investment. It's office, which is good. But I think only for us, I think it's good. Yep. Now that we're in you know, in a better place, I think it's really good for us. But for someone that's, you know, just starting out, like maybe like makes minimum wage, maybe has kids, and yeah, someone like that, let's say,
yeah,
like maybe just get term at least for now. Like maybe you can't afford a permanent life insurance, but at least get a term. And I think they just push. I'm like, you know what, you know, an IUL.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of like stretch, you know, your budget and get an IUL.
Yep.
But that's something that probably wasn't the best. And so like, yeah. And so having that being pushed so much, seeing that it's not the right fit for everybody, it's like, man. So that's another aspect. And then, yeah, just, I guess the people there, like some of the people, not all of them, because a lot of people were really good. Like I remember we used to have another friend there that I don't know if he's still in there, but he was really good, and I think he really tried to do the best for people. He got like securities license, really, like he was really good, and so he actually did try to like learn the financial aspect of it and like actually help people. But for the most part, it was like just blinders were on.
Yep.
Pretty much we went through, you know, your personal financial state or strategy, looked at the numbers. It didn't matter how it looked. IUL. Yep. IUL, which is, I don't think it's, in my opinion, which I'm not very experienced at all, but just based on what I know, or from my experience, or at least for me, it's not the best for everybody.
No. And just, it wasn't everyone. Kind of like at the top, it wasn't everyone. Like some of them were actually like really good people actually teaching you like, okay, IUL isn't the only option.
Yeah. And so like, because I saw a lot of potential. It's just like, and then so yeah, I saw a lot of behind the scenes. Like I saw a lot. And so if by any chance, if anyone's watching, pretty much everyone knows what went on there, like behind the scenes.
Yep.
Yeah, like how people made money. Yeah, and there was people that were like essentially like they just quit, like not scam, but like there was it wasn't scam. It's just like morally.
It was more for their benefits and the benefits of everyone else. And you know, this is just, you know, theories in case, you know, we get sued, or we don't want to get sued. But
yeah, I mean,
it's just all theoretical.
Yeah, so it's just, yeah, I mean, we assume people based on, you know, what we heard, we're doing bad.
It's all hearsay. And so yeah, seeing that, and then it's like, I think, yeah, at that point it's kind of like you're almost fatigued, because, you know, like, and that's one of the things also that it's not their fault per se. I mean, it's the people's fault. It's not the business. Like, it's not World Financial Group's fault per se that I wasn't successful. It was, honestly, it was my fault. I didn't push as hard. I didn't like, you know, I didn't do the activities that were necessary in order to become successful. Yep.
And so it was my fault ultimately. Granted, some of the people there, how they ran their business, it didn't help. But it was ultimately my fault as to why, you know, I felt. And so, but also seeing that it's like, it's not something, I believe in insurance, life insurance, in general insurance, but I don't think it was the right path for me. Like, seeing everything, I was like, you know what? Little by little, I'm like, it's not. Yeah. It's not.
And one thing I want to emphasize, like how you said, it's not the organization itself, it's the people. It's kind of like if you're working for Uber, or you're working for Lyft, or you're working for one of those companies that allow you to be an independent contractor. It really isn't so much like the company is bad. It's, you know, maybe the mistakes of a few people make the organization as a whole look bad. So like I mentioned, it's not the organization, it's the people. And then I know towards the end, there was kind of like a breaking point of, okay, you know, it's not for us. And I remember, I think the last thing that happened was during a trip to Florida.
Yeah. Even at that point, we were like
already out the door.
We probably one foot was out the door. But that trip, I don't know exactly what it is, but...
And it was in 2015. So June 2015. If you guys are watching, it was in June 2015.
Yeah,
so it was that trip to Florida.
It wasn't Pismo Beach. Yeah, it was
St. Pete's.
St. Petersburg. Yeah.
Oh, because we also went to go see Elliot Halls.
And you know, that's something that I'm like, at least I'm glad that we went to go see him. But yeah, I forgot exactly. Like, I can't pinpoint it, but I don't know. It just didn't like. It didn't feel. I don't know if you remember that trip as to what exactly was the breaking point.
Well, we got there. We had to share a room with like 6 other guys, and then, you know, like allegedly the stuff we were hearing of what they were doing. You know. Kind of like
in business?
No, not in business. Oh, that too, but like
oh yeah, like, and then like allegedly, and then it's just like, and then that's also kind of like not my thing, to where like you know, they're out all night, not all night partying, but like, you know, drinking, you know, and it's kind of like, fuck, I don't want to be around this, like,
yeah, like, fuck, let me sleep.
yeah, let me sleep. I don't want like, and so that was the breaking point. Like, and it wasn't everyone. That's the thing.
Nah, it wasn't.
But it's like I don't want to be around that environment, even though, like,
associated to it.
Yeah, associated to, like, maybe like at work or in their office. You know, like maybe they are hard workers, but then outside of that, it's like I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to be associated. I don't want to be part of that.
Yeah, because okay, what if they offer you some?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, and that was one of the things. Like, you work hard and then you party hard. Or
that was their mentality. Play hard. Work hard. Play hard.
Work hard. Play hard. But that wasn't mine. Like, I didn't want to be with that, associated to that. I just, yeah, and so I'm like, that was kind of like, you know what, that's it.
And I left first.
You left first, I remember.
I left first because during that time I started working door-to-door sales. So it was a good experience. And I know they needed more time from me because I was out in the field from like 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., 10 p.m. And so it was kind of like the decision, okay, you know, I could continue going back and forth. I could basically skip a few days working door-to-door, but it's okay, like, why do I want to stick around if I'm looking at all this? So I remember I went out first. After a few months, you went out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. Because also, like, yeah, like, I couldn't, like, continue, like, not making, like, money. So I had to get a job. And then I think just little by little, starting to, you know, having to go to work, then it just became a lot. And then also, like, just remembering, like, you know, like, and it wasn't like I remember the trips and that's what triggered me quitting. But it's just like, it got, like, it was just ultimately, like, little by little, it just didn't become, like, what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think majority was the financial aspect, because I remember I needed to get the job because I didn't have any money. Remember, we were spending a lot of money.
Yeah,
yeah, we were going out prospecting, basically getting new people, like recruiting people, and we would just go to McDonald's. We would go to the theater.
Yep.
We would talk to people at first. Oh, you guys would talk to people at first, and then we would end up going to McDonald's. We would end up buying stuff when we didn't need to. We would end up going to theater. Like, oh, we're going to recruit people at the theater. So I remember it was like at the point we needed money. So that's why I'm like, okay, I need to get a job.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And then, yeah, just like the financial aspect was a big part of it. And I think that's the main reason why. But then also, like, another one is I didn't see success, which was my fault. 100% my fault.
Yeah.
But, you know, that and then, you know, seeing like how people were outside of the office is like, you know, I don't want to work with some of these people. And yeah, and it isn't the only way to go. It's not a bad business model. No. You just have to see that if you actually, you know, it's not bad. So what I recommended, it kind of depends.
Yep.
Because it really does depend.
I would say if you're starting out, it's not a bad option because you're going to get in kind of like your skills at the beginning. Like how Juan mentioned, you know, like once he started, he learned how to talk to people. When he went out to prospect, he kind of like his communication skills, his people skills went up. And one thing I liked is they also taught like a lot of psychological skills, kind of like how people think, how people act. So that's something I will never forget. Like to this day, I still use a lot of those principles. But you know, if you're starting out, kind of like it's a good option because like if you do get good at it, the pay is good, the commissions are good. You're gonna get a lot of skills out of it. You're gonna get a lot of knowledge out of it. So I would 100% like. I would recommend it, actually.
Yeah. If you have nothing else, like if you have no idea what to do, it's not a bad option. I'm not saying to go ahead and join, but it's not a bad option to at least get free knowledge because they pretty much read books. It's kind of like a mastermind in a sense. Read books. You learn a lot of, at least in World Financial Group, like you learn a lot of financial literacy, a lot of things that it would be like hard to just, you know, put all together.
Yep. And
learn it. So yeah, it isn't the only way though.
It is
as we learn, because I think luckily now we're in a better place, in a lot better place, and so like it isn't the only way.
So yeah, for the people who saw us leave and thought we were losers. Yeah, and it's not saying like, oh, you know, we're doing good now. It's just I think more than anything it's the fact that I hate actually when they call people losers if they don't join World Financial Group. If they do join and they end up leaving, you're a loser. You're never gonna be nothing in life. That's the one thing I dislike the most with the passion.
Yeah, and I think that's how they get people to kind of stay, because then they don't want to quit. They don't want to be inconsistent with, you know, what they're doing. Because for me, like, it was kind of like I had been there for like a year and a half, and so it was kind of like hard leave after that, because, you know, you just wanted to, you know, continue, you know, be successful. Like you quit, you're a loser. You know, you will always be a quitter kind of thing.
Yep. Other than that was pretty much it. I know there's a lot more stories, but maybe that's a time for another day. Other than that, any final thoughts?
Yeah. the business model, at least World Financial Group. I think we're talking specifically right now with World Financial Group, because I don't know how other, like, type of business, like those type of businesses work. But the business itself, the business model isn't bad. It's the people that run it that can make it bad.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure there's some offices that run it like very legit and all that. And so that I think that would be that's something. If you were to get started, you would want to get started with them. But it's the people that make it good or bad.
Or like any work, anywhere you work.
Because you could work at a really like Amazon. You can work at Amazon, and so it's a kind of like quote unquote like a normal corporate like business, but it's a lot of people perceive it as bad, especially in the warehouses. Yeah, that's pretty much it. What about you?
No, I agree. It's a good option, especially for the younger people who are, you could say, barely 18, graduating high school. If you have nothing or you don't know what to do, I would say get in any type of sales, because that's gonna grow your experience, your skill set. Like, it's gonna grow it a lot. You're gonna learn how to talk to people. You're gonna learn psychological principles of how people act, and at the same time, if you're in sales, whether it be World Financial Group or something else, you could end up getting good commissions. You could end up getting good pay. And one thing I would also say is, if you are starting, you're young, and you do want to do some type of business, you want to do something else other than that, I also would recommend
maybe
getting a policy for yourself, because if you're going to end up becoming the main breadwinner of your family, it's always good to like, worst case scenarios, just in case, my business becomes very successful, or it starts doing good, that like it replaces one income of the household, 2 incomes. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and if final thoughts for me now that you talked some of it is, if you do start working there or start working in any like type of business, don't put the blinders on, because I know being there, like, you could kind of like, it could just be like, you could just have tunnel vision, but don't put the blinders on and actually see that it's not the only way.
Yeah,
it's a way, but it's not the only way. Nope. So definitely, or if you're in there, just seeing if it's the right thing for you. It might be the right thing for like the person who recruited you, but it might not be the right thing for you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely don't put the blinders on, because there are other options for sure.
Thank you for your final thoughts. Those were a little bit of my final thoughts, and let us know if you guys are in MLM, World Financial Group, Primerica. Let us know your experiences, whether you liked it, you didn't like it, if you were successful, maybe it wasn't the right thing for you. But yeah, just let us know. This was a little bit of our experience in World Financial Group and MLM in general. And with that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.